Sorry guys, I hope you can hear me okay. It is actually pretty heavy raining out there. I'm one of those people that was trying to get in steps and trying to exercise and do more stuff. And of course now every day it's just gonna rain. Anyway, okay, so instead I'm just gonna do some tarot for you guys. So here's the thing, Cancer. I do see, I mean, I thought don't very often get into a lot of the love interests. And again, sorry guys, if you can't hear me very well, it is in part because I'm outside, but inside. Just doing a reading for you for the month of August. And again, it's more related around love energies, friendship energies, as well as at the very end, I'll go through a little bit with the career or any jobs that might be coming through for you. But for the moment, we're just going to start out with the first cards out again around love interest. So if you're new to my channel, how I do the readings is I'll do the general energy of the cards first, and any major arcana generally tends to have more of an impact than a minor. So I see a lot of minor cards out here. So just so you know, I will say this though, the only one card that did come out that was a major is the Tower, which is a little further out. And again, this is in the relationship sector. So there might be something that comes to light. But we'll get right into it. Again, I don't entirely know what it is yet because I just pulled the cards. I haven't really gone through it, and I just got a general idea. So we'll get right into it. But there is some good things that are also coming in here for you as well. But we'll just sort of lay it out here, see where things go. All right, so in terms of the general message, and again, well, the clarifiers really do indicate where things are going with that. So Nine of Wands, and just even in a general sense, this is more along the lines of being pushed to the limit, almost at a finish up cycle. So whatever this is in terms of a love connection, it's like you're almost through the lesson. You have one more card, which is a 10, which is probably where that Tower comes in. And that's where you're going to resolve it and figure out exactly what you're going to do and then, move on from it. It's the last obstacle basically in the picture. What I would say though is, this is of course the card of keep pushing through. You're almost to the end cycle. And once you're to the end cycle, that means there's usually something new that's coming in that will benefit you and that will be in the love front. Or it might be that you're actually starting to focus more on another area of your life, but we'll figure that out as we go. But the Nine of Wands, like I said, you're persevering through something here. I would say overall, I mean, even if we were just to glance at the card below, that is the Heartbreak card. The Three of Swords might even be or have been for whoever this resonates for. Some of you, you may be going through this energy currently. You're not all, I mean, you're all on different timelines, so you're not all on a Tuesday going to have a heartbreak, that kind of thing. So just be aware of the time. Some of you may be working through this energy a little further out. This is for August, but it may, depending on how heavy the energies are, kind of lay out a little further into September. But again, I'm just doing the general message first, and then we'll get right into it. So Nine of Wands, like I said, you're pushing through something in terms of a hardship where there's been a conflict or a heartbreak in terms of a relationship that didn't really, something went out of proportion. It didn't, it was a really, um, it was a relationship where, I would say it was a significant heartbreak. But overall, like I said, I mean, that conflict, you're almost through. So you're at the 9. Like I said, it's not something new. I feel whoever this resonates for is not something new that's coming into the picture here. You're kind of persevering through the uncertainty right now is what I would say. And I do feel like you have a lot of cards that show you have leverage because there's a lot of mature energy coming out here. So despite anything that you are struggling with emotionally, the overall message is that you have to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more courageous, a little bit more resilient, but there is something more positive coming in, but it's going to be based on the test of your own resilience. So if you're resilient in pulling this off, that's when you learn the lesson. So it's not numbing yourself out till you feel nothing. It's where you actually integrate the lesson and realize you're both on different. When things don't work out in a relationship, it's usually because one person is maturing and the other one is not. You're at different sides of the coin, so you're not at a space where you can meet, negotiate, and grow. And until such time that both are in that space, there's going to be a conflict. So maybe something down the road could occur where somebody does grow through, but usually they've got their own life lessons, to sort of, build and work through. So anyway, moving on. Okay, so this card basically is also, again, is pushing through, and it does indicate that um, you're in a space where you've kind of taken some space from one another is what I would say there. There's distance. It did end on a harsher note with the Three of Swords. There's also something here about, just things just, like I said, kind of went out of proportion, and there could very well have been a third party sort of situation in this. But either way, it just feels like you're separate at this point. So there is also something here as far as, in your own mindset where you kind of come to that space. You've experienced enough heartache, and I feel like, you're starting to face the facts. You're ending the connection, which, because it just brought you more pain than it did good times. And I feel like you're parting, under the idea that, it's not, you can't really compare there were a few good points, but the hardships don't seem like you're able to grow from those. Like when you're together, you're not growing. You are trying to be the best version of yourself, usually in a connection, and then otherwise you end up putting up a lot of boundaries. So, and then there is no growing after that. But the point, or I shouldn't say that entirely. I mean, there can always be growth, but point is both parties have to meet in the middle and negotiate that out. So here's where you're feeling the pain, the parting of the ways. Again, it was more of an unhappy relationship. And I feel like, if you're looking back on the patterns, it's more unhappy to look at something that you can't control, because you can only control your element of things. All right, now we're just going through the general energies, and then we'll tie it all back in together. Two of Pentacles. This is where there's been a lot of juggling, and this could be because the juggling card is right next to the work. It's like, for all the effort and the work that you've put into something, and it's been quite tangible. It's been something in a physical way that you have been juggling, something that you've been playing at, something even in terms of work or jobs. There's been a lot of, things just not running smoothly. It feels like you've been overextended. And like I said, I mean, it just feels like overall it's been a drain. It feels like you've just been trying to squeeze in time for one another. Hi, Ishida. Yeah, I'll answer any questions at the end. If you're still around, I'll answer it at the end. But just so it doesn't confuse the rest of the read for the general. But like I said, I mean, it just feels like there's a lot going on here that you just can't seem to adjust or readjust or make time for one another. Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry, I was just responding to Ishida there. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I just feel with that Two of Pentacles, it just feels like it's just been a hardship. It just feels like something has to change, and it has to be a major change, and able to kind of hold your attention, because it just feels like you need this time away from one another, because you're not devoting enough time to each other, is really what I get there for whoever this resonates for. The Eight of Pentacles, like I said, that's also a card of putting in the work, time, energy, and it just feels like it is work. It feels like it's so much work, and it's fine if both are coming together and you're getting something out of it. But if it feels like there's, not a lot of progress going on here, or it's unfocused, or it's not dedication, even though this is the dedication card, it feels like there might be a little bit more on one person over another. Like I said, romantically, it would be a message to pay attention to loyalty and make sure that it's reciprocated, because it's the small considerations that enhance a relationship and deepen a bond. So if the workload is more on one person over another, then it's not really a bond that, you're involved in. You're involved in something that you think is better than it is. Now, again, we'll tie it all together. This is just the general energy. We are now into the Tower moment. Now, I will say the Tower moment is the only major arcana. Everything else here is small and minor, which means you've already worked through a lot of the big stuff. But this is almost like there is a big moment, a decision of some sort that's coming through here. And this feels like it is impactful, and I feel like it will probably be, require a lot of maturity to get through it. Because I think for the most part, it's like a situation where you're coming to terms with, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, and is this really what I want in my life? Someone who is maybe there, maybe not there, But that Tower is the breaking apart, as they say, of the structures that are not working. So, and here it is next to the Justice. So that tells me a lot there too. It is going to be something of a wake-up call, a sudden unexpected kind of thing that's going to surprise you. And again, whatever this surprising event is, it feels like it levels out. It's okay, because the Justice card is what follows. And again, whatever this revelation is in a romance that was stuck in a rut, there's something that comes to light, where it's no longer stifling you, because it feels like whatever was unexpected kind of shoves you into a space of understanding or knowing what you want, or how you want to go forward. This could be a legal matter for some of you here as well, but generally the Justice card is a slow moving card. It's a balanced card, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius as well. But it definitely speaks to something coming in here that has more of a, something here that's trying to balance out that. And so it feels like however it works out in your life, it's more favorable to you. So again, it's one cycle ends and another begins, and it's immediate. So it's literally like you immediately sort of, you're applying rules to get to the Justice card. You have a fair set of rules and values that you're abiding by, which are straightening you out to get past this Tower moment. And again, that is with the cycle for you in terms of romance is committing fully versus to, what's not. And I feel like this is not something you were committed fully in, or somebody else wasn't. And either way, now things are starting to get back into balance, and you're rearranging your priorities, your goals, you're getting a clear picture of what you want to accomplish, and then you're just going to go for it. So that's where the one cycle ends and then the other begins, and it's all pretty close here. So like I said, I feel like a contract that was made is now being broken in some way, and there is some kind of separation from that relationship. I'm not saying there's nothing else coming in, because I almost think this person's going to still try to come back in a weird way, but it's like the cards that I saw out there, following that a little further out, it's like you shut it down immediately. It's like you're just not even interested in hearing it. So when we get to the Six of Cups, this is somebody that you've known, I would say, in the past, because this is something from the past. And again, this is more romantic that I'm looking at. I do have friendship cards that I've asked about as well, for those of you that are inquiring about that. But the Six of Cups is that card that tells me there's a lot of nostalgia, there's a lot of history, there's a lot behind this connection. And so it's really hard to let go of something that is not working out when there's so much that's sort of tied to it. But I would still say at this point, it's like you're waiting for something new. It's like this could be an apology that's coming through here as well. But I still feel like it's almost like you just don't care. Because normally the Six of Cups is a card where, romance could be rekindled, or you're yearning for this past love, something like that. But there is something here that kind of speaks to, maybe there is, like I said, I feel like because that Judgment card, the High Priestess, sorry, that what's unknown, and we also had the following card is the Page of Wands. It's almost like there's so much going on there, like that's passion, that's connection, that's love. It's like you have you're very tied into the past, you're very tied into that nostalgic feel of things. But what I would say there is, so it feels like that Tower could potentially be worked through a little bit, but I still see some other cards showing that there is going to be more hardship that goes with this. So it's how much energy and time and energy do you want to put into something, really, is what it boils down to. But the Six of Cups is, again, usually it's a card of a chance encounter or some favorable news or someone from childhood, but there's a lot of nostalgia tied with it. Now, the Six of Pentacles, like I said, this is still bodes very well. I mean, it is more of the give and take card, and it's more in the tangible world. It is someone kind of, reciprocating a little bit of that energy, and it's in the real world. So it is where you would make time for someone, or you would meet up, or there would be something here that feels like it's a little bit more of a healing that's occurring there. But like I said, overall, it feels like there is a lot of support or comfort in this connection. And I feel like, you might comfort and support each other in some ways, but there's an imbalance in the situation. So it's like it's on and off. Sometimes there's all in, and other times it's like all out. There is definitely love and exchange of, warmth, love and affection, that kind of thing. But again, because the High Priestess is still coming off as very mysterious, and again, this could be you or someone else, it's also the unknown card. So there's still something here that's kind of at play that isn't fully revealed. And I guess maybe that could be why the Tower is there, because I did ask for that as the clarifier. Like I said, the High Priestess is it's the four queens all rolled into one. So it's a detachment, but it's all like emotionally detached card. But it is also sort of speaking to, a Cancer sign, of course, that's your sign coming in here. But it also kind of speaks to that energy of, somebody's not really maybe telling you everything, or you're not telling them everything. So there's a detachment, there's a separation, a disconnect of the energy. So you're going to have to focus on, following your inner voice on something. Look for signs and synchronicities, and, where is this person consistent? Where are they inconsistent? Because you want to focus on what you know, and then you're going to have to rely on your intuition for the rest, because there's not the full story here for you to make a full decision about what's actually going on. But there is something being held back here. And maybe, again, that could be where the Tower comes in. Now, the Page of Wands, and again, it's not to say any Tower moment is not a reason to say that something could not continue to work, but it's how much work do you really want to put into something is really what it boils down to. I mean, you can make anything work where you're putting in all the effort and the other person does very little, or you're putting in all the time or the money and the other person does very little. But is that, how much time do you really feel is, yes, it's great when you've got an investment in someone, but it's also, what is it that the person gives back to you, and is that something that you could get from someone else, or is it something you could give to yourself? So again, depends on everybody's situation is a little different, and it could be more extreme for others than for another. It's all different, like I said. So anyway, Page of Wands is that younger person could be showing up here as well, 20s 30s, but this would be usually around the 20s mark. But this is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius as well. And it's also kind of a message of don't abandon your goals, success, you're close to success. We also had the Nine of Wands that also indicates you're close to success with something in terms of, I'm not going to take it down the road of, career necessarily, because I'm just trying to stay on track with the romantic part of it first. But it's almost like this person is going to give you a phone call or an email, or there's even a new relationship that could be coming in here. More of it speaks to me as this previous relationship where it was fun, exciting, and fulfilling in some way, but it's like you're still hoping for that in some regard. But like I said, I still feel like there's some level of communication or something that will be coming in here pretty soon. Now, it does follow up with the Knight of Pentacles. And again, we'll go through all of these again, tie it together. Knight of Pentacles is slow-moving energy. Definitely feel like this is more along the lines of you, even though it's not a Cancer sign. But Knight of Pentacles is reliable. It's somebody that, it's the person who does show up. It is the person who does put in the work, makes the plans, really does implements things in a very slow, methodical way. So, I mean, this is the person, like I said, that plans for the long haul. And I feel like this is you. So again, you're the hard worker, I think, in this situation, but it is definitely a very responsible energy. I would definitely say, like I said, in terms of romance, you're the one that, like, this card is somebody who's attentive, and it's a solid, stable, committed energy, but you want like a comfortable lifestyle. You want something to be in that range of not hit or miss, hot and cold. You want it to be slow and steady, and I feel like that's what gives you happiness. Okay, now we're moving into the other cards of the Eight of Cups. Again, we're still in that range of the relationship aspect of things here. Eight of Cups is usually when you're kind of separating yourself, like not separation as in a division and nasty words and whatever, but it's just more along the lines of fork in the road kind of energy. It's where you're kind of pulled away. You're trying to move on, or this long-term relationship or something here is kind of ending. It's that energy. And again, that's also the Four of Wands. So that tells me that somebody close to home, something here that this lover energy was, somebody you were very connected to. And again, strong passion here as well, especially with the lover's energy. There might have been a very strong, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say karmic connection necessarily, but timing matters, like I said, for when you meet people, because until somebody has gone through all the things, that they need to go through, it's really hard to come together, especially when the high priestess came out there. It does point to something that's hidden in the relationship. Like I said, whatever that is, maybe you come to know what it is because of that tower, as I mentioned, but there's just something here that just feels a little bit off. So, again, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, very strong in this reading, but I still feel like this is almost indicating that there could be another relationship that's just around the corner. And I did ask about that as well, but it still feels like there's a decision that's coming up here, and it feels like it's a tense, bumpy period, basically. Again, I feel like you're very attracted to one another, but it's almost like you're just trying to avoid the confrontation. You hope something just goes away. You're trying to have kind of a gentler way of dealing with the situation, more of a mature approach. Now we're into the Knight of Swords. And again, we're going to do some of this as far as career aspects too, but I'm just focusing on the relationship part right now. So again, Knight of Swords is quick communication coming in. So whoever this is, I don't feel like you're done with them yet. The Knight of Swords is definitely more of a card of uh, like harsher communication. It does come in very aggressively with the Knight of Swords. It's a very ambitious sort of card, but it's almost like you're feeling restless or unsettled, and you feel like something is missing. You want more in your life, and yet I still feel like there's this transition, that you've kind of moved away from this person, or you're both have decided that, something is not working. And in some way, it's just, there's a separation that's still showing here. So again, but I still feel like there's still a lot that's going to be kind of happening with this, even though it's like, I mean, I don't want to say that it's opening up to, reigniting exactly, but it's almost like it's like a, how do I put that? It's like something that just never really goes away because there is a connection. It's like you just keep checking in on each other. It's that kind of energy, is what I would say. So, hi, Jackie. And so, yeah, so like I said, Six of Swords, I feel like there's something that you're transitioning away from. Um, but it's almost like you're going from a negative position, like the communication, you're at a distance. The communication is a little bit, it's not warm and fuzzy. We are talking about some, harsher words. There's a transition, of course, and then with the Ace of Swords coming through this transition period, and again, if there's something here that kind of speaks to there being because the Ace of Swords, again, even though it's a new beginning of some sort, it's almost like you're coming into this awareness with a clear mindset, is what I would say there. And again, this could be winter as well that comes through here, but that Ace of Swords is that energy of something comes to light, and in that awareness, it's almost like that's where you kind of make this big decision, because I feel like the decision keeps coming through twice. And maybe there is two decisions here, but it's like you're just cutting through the illusion. You're seeing it for what it really is, and what it was not. Yes, there's always some kind of connection, but is it the connection that you want to build on, build from, do all the work, or or meet someone else that would be willing to, meet you halfway? But it feels like there's a new idea or a new belief system or something that's coming in here that'll help you to get what you want. And like I said, even in terms of romance, I feel like there are emotional extremes that are taking place here, and maybe there is an intense sort of sexual encounter of some sort, but it's almost like, it was previously a warm situation and then it goes cold. And it feels like you're ready to just sort of cut the ties based on that. And it just feels like, you feel stifled by it in some way now. Like I said, it was once warm connection, but now it's like you see something differently. That's what I would say there. And I mean, these, kinds of cards certainly would, I don't see a lot of the sadness and depression cards here. It's almost like you have come to a point of walls up, or I don't even want to say defensiveness. It's not even defensiveness, even though there's an element of that. But like I said, Ace of Swords is that card of, especially when it's followed with the Judgment card at the very bottom, you definitely are coming to like a big realization of what it is and what it is not. And like I said, I feel like you're making that decision this month. The Judgment card is a clarifier, but it's also a bottom of the card sort of deck, basically. So that's where you review your life choices. It's the hard decisions. You're weighing your options, and you're making a big decision there. And I do feel like it's not going to be staying. It feels like to me that it's not staying with that situation. It feels like your relationship is undergoing some kind of huge regeneration, and that's a very significant change. And it's like you're really making a decision. Am I going to call it quits, or am I going to go forward? So that's where I see, and it feels like that decision to me feels like you're putting an end to it. And maybe this other person doesn't want to, because I still feel cards around that. Okay, so actually, maybe we should sort of tie this all back in together before we move on. All right, and then we'll get into the other cards here as well, career and all of that. Okay, so again, going back to the Nine of Wands energy, as I mentioned, it feels like you're undergoing a transformational period. The only big cards out, like I said, as the major were the Tower, and everything else is minor. So there is something that's going to come to light, which is going to put you into a situation where you're going to make a decision, and it feels like you are ready to move on, basically. But I still feel like you are still undergoing a transformation. The world card is usually when you get all things, kind of your lessons learned, but you're still at the stage of a 9, so you've got one more kind of major hurdle to kind of get through, and then there'll be a mix of healing, a realization, and then you kind of recalibrate and get back in out there in and look at things with your new mindset. So stay emotionally strong, basically here, and listen to your intuition. Move forward slowly and deliberately, and that's of course where we get this from, and of course the High Priestess that came out there. A lot of intuition. But again, Nine of Wands next to the Three of Swords. I mean, that is a combination that still speaks to, you're enduring emotional pain at this time, recent heartbreak. Wounds are still there. There's betrayal, unresolved disappointment. You are guarded for sure, but again, the predominant energy feels like you're coming out of that in some way. So maybe toward the end of the month, but either way, I feel like August starts off with that emotional fatigue feeling, but there's a lot of inner strength and there's a lot of mature energy here, and you are making decisions based on that. So that's coming from a really good place. Um, Again, the next cards out were the Two of Pentacles, and we also had the Eight of Pentacles. So that to me is that, again, you're trying to balance things out with your other life priorities. So again, it's whether you're establishing yourself in a work or a healing or an emotional stability kind of sense. I just feel like, there's a sense that you or your partner, needs to put in more consistent effort and able to rebuild or maintain a connection. And it feels like the love isn't effortless. It feels like there is so much intentional work that's required to make this work. And again, there's still cards out here, like I said, with the Tower. Sorry, I got to find my other one here. With the Tower card, which that was the main one, the main energy that came out there. So the Tower, and then there was that Justice card in there. So it's a major shakeup. It's something that really kind of surprises you. And I feel like this has recently occurred. It may have actually occurred, and it may be that you're just now making those decisions. So again, you may be in this energy where you've already realized what that Tower is. But again, it does feel a little bit more karmic now that I see those two cards together. But it's something that was necessary for you to see and able to, you had to see the truth and able to restore sort of that balanced energy. Now we also have, sorry, one sec here. Okay, so I feel like if you have been wronged in this situation, if you're the one that kind of got burned in this scenario, know that with the Justice card coming out here, it feels like that dramatic realization about that relationship. It was something necessary for you to see the truth in and able to restore the balance. But again, if you've avoided something, it can't be ignored. But it also tells me that you are going to receive justice for this. So somebody else is going to pay that price. You took the Tower, you took the hit, but there's something else here that fairness is going to come into you. And it's just a matter of building that out now. It's building the momentum and the energy, especially when I see the Six of Cups. And then, of course, we had the Six of Pentacles. That's two sixes. That's all about balance. So there's strong nostalgic energy here, like I said, about this past lover or someone returning, or you're revisiting those memories. Either way, it is the past that you're connected to, and there is that potential for reconciliation or closure. And again, whatever, if you want to walk the line again and get back into it, know that the lesson will be maybe a little bit harder the next time. But the idea is that you need to have mutual emotional give and take in a situation, for that to work. So I feel like that is, where things are at. It's not that still feel like the door is kind of open there with that situation, but I think the decision is really yours. Now, we did get the High Priestess. Again, four queens all rolled into one. One of you may be coming off as more mysterious than the other, but it's also the unknown element in the relationship. Trust your intuition. There's some kind of secret here, but there are hidden feelings as well. And it also feels like, again, there's a potential for a renewed passion with the Page of Wands, but there is also something here that kind of speaks to new and exciting energy possibly on the horizon here as well. So I would say that, this could be, again, possibly a younger person as well, that is where there's renewed passion again. So I feel like for the most part, this is someone who's existing right now from connecting you to the past. But it sparks more curiosity in you again. And again, I do feel like this energy is take it slow. The overall energy between you is also very slow. And this would be slow, steady progress. So if you want to take the time and wait it out for someone to catch up and learn the lessons with them and, kind of keep the imbalance going for a while, then, it's how important it is to you. What does this person give back to you? It's up to you. But it's also being patient and waiting to see what changes. So it is a very grounded card, and it is an action card. So it does feel like there is almost a starting over energy or a healing. But again, I feel like if you're single, you're in that space of processing the pain. And I feel like someone from the past, like I said, may reach out again to you, or is coming back into your thoughts. But there's almost a little bit of a flirtation that could reemerge here again. And it just feels like take it slow, don't rush. Just let your intuition guide you. But if you are in the relationship itself and this is where it stands, I feel like you and your partner may face some kind of disruptive event or a hard truth. And then there will be balance and fairness at some point here. But again, the question still, begs the question, is it still a fair, equal give and take in the situation? Doesn't have to be exactly 50-50, but it's more along the lines of, when you drop the ball, will somebody pick it up? Or are you left to just always pick it up yourself? It's that kind of thing. So the advice on that was, let go of the things that aren't working. Build on you and your, and build up your strength, your ego, your, support system, that kind of thing. It's okay to reflect into the past, but until somebody is willing to meet you halfway or to get there, you can wait for them, but, do your part on building up you in the meantime. So heal, move with intention was what that Knight of Pentacles was. And again, trust your gut with the High Priestess. So again, there is some new excitement or something slowly growing again, possibly in this connection, but it'd be more of a September energy, I would say, to see where that relationship is going. But you are in the energy of making a decision, is to keep them around or not. And again, I want to go into the cards of, sorry, one second here. Oh yeah, okay, these ones. I didn't do these ones yet. Sorry guys, just taking a second to sort of figure out my groupings. All right, so I just also want to just kind of recap there again. So with the Eight of Cups, and then again, that was followed by the Four of Wands. So there is something there. Yes, you can walk away from the past and get emotionally clear before going back in, but just know that there's definitely new energy showing up in this, but it's conditional, meaning it hinges on you leaving something behind. You're going to have to physically distance yourself from the past or a pattern and able to get there. So, healthy mind, healthy habits, bring a healthier relationship. If, you know, toxic habits, toxic thoughts, then you can't expect a relationship to grow to a healthy place when you're both bringing toxicities into the connection. So, you know, show up as the best version of yourself and able to, help the other person trust that they're investing in someone who's stable, secure, and willing to work on themselves as well. So, but either way, Eight of Cups again is sort of walking away, or you're in a phase of emotional withdrawal or release in some way. Won't be easy because you've invested time or feelings into something, but you're being nudged to move forward, at least to make, some initial first step towards something that helps you to create something new. And that's what the Four of Wands is, something more stable. So I do feel like, yes, this is someone who's very significant to you, that could also be coming in, but it is possibly the soulmate level that you're dealing with, as far as the person. But I feel like it hints at stability and shared values. And you're going to know if it's this person that you're with or if it's someone else. But, that's what you're going to be basing your decision on. Is it meaningful enough, the relationship, um, you know, where you're able to build on something where you're both not coming into it toxic, or are you willing or both mature enough to, sort of build on a small level and make something healthier. So there is some elements here that kind of speed up, with this connection, because like I said, I mean, it does bounce into the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is, somebody rushes in suddenly, and I feel like this is the other person. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, again, as I mentioned, very strong air sign energy, but it's someone who's direct, unafraid to chase what they want. And the energy is fast, intense, and sharp. And again, this could be a physical thing here, but it's almost like as they're coming at you, you're in this run mode. You want to leave the drama behind. You're distancing yourself from this rough patch. And so it feels like you're in that space of a major mindset shift. But again, it's because there's a breakthrough. You're realizing, hi Cody, what was that? I'm not sure what you mean. But I mean, I do feel like with the Ace of Swords, this is where there's more communication, but it's honest communication. It's direct communication. It's like, not playing games anymore. It's more of an intellectual spark. Like you're really, connecting on, how do I say, not a heartfelt emotional basis, but you're really getting clear on, this is what's right. This is what's wrong. Are we going to go forward, or are we going to, just continue the same behavior? It's almost like that direct kind of conversation that comes in. And again, remember, this is the bottom of the deck card, Judgment. So the Judgment is that energy of spiritual awakening, big decision, and I feel like that's where you are. Again, it's Cancer, you being tested. And I feel like the test is, because of the Nine of Wands, you're almost in that last stage. Do you want to go through some lesson again, and it may be a more hurtful one, or are you willing to take the pain and let this person grow, and then kind of work with them? But again, it's going to be at your cost to some extent. So, you know, like I said, I mean, it's okay to let somebody grow and give them space, and while you work on yourself as well. But, you don't want two toxic things coming together if you aren't able to support each other in healthy ways. So again, it's your decision always, but it's something about, you're being tested. Do you go back to the familiar, even if it hurt, or do you choose a higher path towards something that's got more peace, or more aligned with your goals, or it's not somebody who makes you just feel good. It has to be, do you both have similar goals? Are you both willing to put in the time and attention to each other, and acknowledge each other that some way? So that's kind of that energy. So I do feel like there is a chance for someone new to come in here for sure, but only after you sort of walk away from the emotional connection of the past, that might be lingering. But I feel like, this person could be a serious partner, not just casual. But I still feel like you can expect the connection from the past, to come rapidly in here. And again, there's going to be this big conversation, and then it's a spiritual choice. You'll need to make a big emotional and or spiritual choice, because it resurfaced with the Judgment card. And again, Justice, big cards, Tower, even though they're not the main energies out here. Now I want to say, Was there going to be a return of the old lover? And that's where these cards came in, which I haven't gone through yet. So that's the Five of Pentacles. That's, would this old person or this old love, whatever relationship, come back? Someone that you're very connected to from the past. So this tells me possibly. But again, if they're coming back with baggage, emotional confusion, no clear resolution or anything like that. So again, it shows more of a lingering energy from the past, but there's potential communication coming in here. But there's also emotional uncertainty and a lot of unresolved pain. So if the old love does reappear, it's not going to come, you know, in a clear way. It's not going to ease right away. So because of that, it's almost like you're still going to feel the abandonment. You're still going to feel insecure. You're still going to feel the emotional distance. And I feel like, somebody, you or them, are both feeling left out in the cold, and it feels like a rejection and it's disconnecting. So there's something there about still feeling like the relationship was more of emotional or physical abandonment in some way, and those wounds are still lingering. And so to get back into it, it's going to pick up where it left off. So again, it's, do you want a clear slate? Do you want to work on it? If you want to work on it, you got to get more tools to deal with those situations, and always working on yourself first. Can't fix somebody else. But again, if you're both willing to grow, then it usually will have more of a positive outcome. But Eight of Wands, sudden communication. There's movement in this communication, movement in this connection, sudden news, direct energy, something out of the blue that just pops in here. Here is the Ten of Wands. It goes from Nine of Wands to Ten of Wands. This is the final card. So there's something in this month, possibly, it's a clarifier, so possibly a little further out into September, because again, you don't all make your decisions on a Wednesday or a Friday. But it does speak to a heavy emotional load with this connection, and it's overwhelming, it's draining rather than uplifting. Now, the fact is it also comes with, it's a lot of heavy energy with this connection. It's more confusion. It's seeing half lights. There's a lot of secrets. There's a lot of fear around it. Mixed signals, emotional fog, fears resurfacing again when this person comes around. It's like you don't fully understand what they want. But again, you are very resilient, and that's, to your credit, because it's a very emotionally mature energy. So this is patience, this is control, staying centered, not rushing into anything. And you're not letting their actions or words, kind of impact you yet. You're mulling them over. That's what the Page of Swords does, kind of figures things out, watches, curious, indirect energy. You're not stepping forward yet. You're just kind of, because you also fear being vulnerable with this person, but you're in that space of maybe speaking socially on media, or dealing with things that aren't necessarily physically, physically there with each other. You have a lot of cards. This is the bottom of the deck card. The Emperor tells me, especially too, that I did kind of look at the next bottom of the deck card, which was Two of Swords. So that also tells me that you want control, or at least you're trying to appear as though you're emotionally distant and controlled. You want to show a strong exterior. So again, there's kind of a clear stalemate where things are not moving ahead in this situation, and you're sitting on the fence. Do I reach out, or do I let it stay in the past? So yes, there's a strong possibility of a return of this person or some kind of sudden communication, but I feel like it comes with emotional confusion, uncertainty, and there's still the burdens on the same things that you dealt with. They're kind of showing up here. This person is definitely holding back emotionally, and I feel like you're being called to use your intuition and cautiously, because they are not what they seem with the Moon card. That tells me, and especially when you have so many cards that lead up to the 8, the 9, the 10 of Wands, this person is very emotionally draining, and it feels like how much weight can you carry in a connection, or how much, boundary with the Emperor, do you have to hold up? How strong do you have to stay before it can actually go forward? Because this is all energy of, I'm just keeping myself and my mindset. I'm just not moving, budging. I'm just staying strong. I'm not letting anything in. I'm not letting anything out. It's that kind of energy. So I feel like you want to watch how consistent or inconsistent they are with their words, with their actions, and so that's why I say you're researching things, you're looking at them, you're watching them with that Page of Swords energy. You're assessing whether or not, to invest or reinvest in this situation, because it's still in that space of, you don't want to give away your emotional power too quickly here. You don't want to give in too easily. So, again, it's that energy of, is it worth it? All right, now we're getting into the other cards. All right, so now this is more along the lines of, oh, actually, let's do the friendship cards since they're still in the friendship or the relationship aspect of things. Almost done, guys. And then I'll answer the question there for you, Ashita. So this one, again, Queen of Coins, this is more along the lines of, just general relationships. So if you're at odds with a person, friendship, close friendship, family member, whatever, this sort of plays out in that range. So whoever this speaks to, that would be where we're going with that. Now, there is something here about, again, this advice for you for the month of August, I would say, is the core message, let go of the things that confuse you. Protect your peace. Open the door only when it matches, your emotional state and and growth. Somebody's got to meet you on that same level. So if you want to grow and expand with, let's say somebody wants kids and the other person doesn't, are you willing to actually entertain the fact that if you never had a child, is that okay? It's kind of really, balancing it out. What are you willing to negotiate on? What are you not willing to negotiate on? What do you bring to the table? And what does the other person bring to the table? That kind of thing. So either way, advice is release what no longer serves you. Again, it's the Eight of Cups, Five of Pentacles, Ten of Wands. They are strong indicators that there's a lot of emotional weight burdened with this connection to the past. And again, if it's leaving you totally in that space where you can't grow, again, let the past be a teacher, not a leash. Okay, so again, I feel like you're guarding your energy all around in terms of love, but don't block it entirely. Strength, Moon, and Two of Swords. As I said with the other ones there, it's basically you staying strong, but you're kind of suppressing your emotions, I would say. And of course, the advice would be don't suppress your emotions. Come to it. Don't shut them off completely. Just speak your truth. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. Is this something that you are also interested in? And how do we set up a plan to make that work? Because you can be soft and protected at the same time. It's just all in the way that you present it. There's nothing wrong with stating your truth. It's not a weakness to say, well, I'm ready for this and this is what I want. And then again, that's where the negotiation begins. So again, there's clarity over chemistry is where I would say this is at, Ace of Swords, Justice, Lovers, it does point to decisions this month for sure. Like I said, does the situation bring you peace or just excitement, followed by pain, and then the roller coaster back and forth, back and forth, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you are also in that same mindset for. But again, it's also on a deeper scale. I see a lot of mature energy coming off probably from you, that you would want to try to negotiate on the basis of what's important. And again, not everybody wants like the big house and stable, the 2.0 kids and all of that stuff. Some people, want their careers or whatever, but it's, matching it, trying to find a way to match and make the energies work, that it highlights growth. But anyway, expect some kind of communication. Again, don't chase the closure, because I feel like this person's going to reach out, give them a chance to sort of speak their message. And then you sort of base things on, from an emotional, mature standpoint, because I feel like that's your superpower this month, because it's something that is natural and, natural and authentic. This is who you are. You're more intuitive as well in this month. And I feel like you have a lot of, paired with all of that, that's emotional discipline. And again, the High Priestess, listening to things deeply, and offering, figuring out, you're offering your heart only when you feel like it's, I don't want to say safe to do so, but when you feel like it's aligned with you. Because again, you have to be a little bit open to pain, and able to get the things that you want. If you never let people know what you want, then things stay very closed off. And maybe somebody else could be wedging or putting distance between you as well because they actually prioritize their career first and the relationship second or whatever. But that's the stuff you want to get clear on. So being emotionally supportive is important, but also being emotionally available. Um, but when I say emotionally available, I don't mean emotionally available for chaos because you don't want to be vulnerable to somebody else's chaos entirely, but you can support one another. So, in summary, like I said, love advice is let go, walk away from the emotionally heavy, one sided relationships. Trust yourself. If there's something that's unclear, recognize where you need to. Negotiate or ask this person if they're also aligned to build on this, or do they need to focus on their career first and then relationship second, or whatever. In terms of this past person, I feel like you can expect contact, just don't expect healing to come from it. I feel like you are in a space of choosing peace, not patterns. And again, I feel like you are now going to be ready and open for something else. You're going to start focusing, I think, more so on you. Because when we get to the Queen of Coins, like I said, this is that space of it's planning, it's giving back to oneself. It's not risk taking necessarily, although I did see the Fool card in here, but that'll come further out. So right now, you're kind of building a plan, and it's a plan with a heart, and it's with wisdom, and you're really defending the things that are important to you this month. So actually, maybe we'll start with that one there. Okay, so Three of Coins. This is collaboration. This is craftsmanship. This is where a skill is being seen. So whether you're working in a teamwork situation, or if this is something about a reputation mattering, because I did see Six of Wands that came out there as well. You have Seven of Wands. You have a lot of wands, but Six of Wands right there. So your reputation matters in this situation. So I feel like there's something that you may be in the early stages that you're really good at. And again, this may be toward the end of August that this starts to show up. But I feel like you are able to craft your destiny. You can feel like you are somebody who has that ability to work with others, and whatever you don't know or don't know enough of, you replace it with getting other people around you to sort of help you figure it out, and so that you can contribute with real value once you've learned something. But I do feel like you're getting noticed in some way with that Six of Wands for something that you do. And again, there's a quiet consistency about you that people trust. And I also feel like you have a teacher energy. And there's also something here about, collaborating maybe with something that is around teaching or something like that. The Three of Coins next to the Two of Wands is a strategic vision. This is a powerful vision, and it's future planning for sure. But it's also you looking at your life saying, is this where I want to stay? Or is it time to go bigger? And so, because of that energy, I feel like you're standing on the edge of a possibility, and you see the freedom, but there's something here that kind of speaks to I'm emotionally kind of overwrought. Like I'm still emotionally drained in some way. Because again, you've got Queen of Cups, but you also have the Nine of Wands again showing here that there's one more lesson, hurdle, test, something like that you have to go through. And it's, you have to risk failing. And that's, a lot of anybody who's been successful, they don't just touch it and immediately they're successful. And even if it look that way, and even if they tell you that, they're not going to tell you, oh, I failed 250 times before I was able to, because then it just make you, somebody might say to themselves, well, if I failed 250 times, that makes me look bad, like I'm stupid or something, right? So nobody's going to say those things. They're just going to make it look easy. Oh, I just, did that and it just appeared. Nobody's going to tell you necessarily the truth because it's sort of an ego save. So like I said, if you fail fast, you learn faster and faster and faster what to do, what not to do. And I feel like in terms of career, that's kind of where things are looking. So there's something here about you getting into something new. And again, this could be, Thing that might be close to home here as well. I did see the Four of Wands, like I say, that came out here. Could be something in the legal field here as well that you're considering, because there's both logic and heart space kind of energy here. So I feel powerful leadership energy, absolutely. You're thinking very strong in this month. So I feel like your emotional intelligence is very strategic this month. And I feel like your influence comes when people feel and see that you trust your own direction. You know, you're seeing something clearly, and that's what brings about people's trust, because it's not all or nothing thinking, because they know you're building this slow, methodical, and really getting to um, building it up to something that's more professional or something that's more to the next level. So, like I said, even if this is managerial, either way, it just feels like there's more of a compassion, but there's also a structure to it. And again, this could be therapist energy as well. There's a lot of that energy that's clinical skill or business savvy. Again, we also had the energy of the Fool. So it is something that's very new, that I feel you're coming into. And it feels like you're as a side note, the most successful people are not, they aren't fearless. They just take the leap while they're managing the fear. So, sitting there waiting until you actually have no fear is not realistic at all. So, again, there's something there about taking a small step toward the new path, even if your anxiety says wait, because your confidence building. And it's not a prerequisite to have the confidence first. You build the confidence based on all the things that you do. So you must take the next step, the next step, and the next step, and the next step. So again, it's, even if you're, a chef trying to decide to go to culinary school, or, you want to be a teacher, or there's something here, even with writing. These are all energies that are in the cards here as well. Either way, and there's a lot of structure here. It feels like there's multi disciplines that you could be attracted to or be good at. And especially too, when I see Six of Wands, it's really your choice, because this is you taking the lead, and it's going to get you noticed. And I feel like you're going to gain credibility in whatever field it is that you choose. You don't need to chase the applause, but you don't also hide from it either. But there is something here that speaks to letting your light be seen, recognition, not of the ego, but about you aligning properly as you move into each phase of the things that you do. When you do something, you do it wholeheartedly. And then I feel like I said with the Three of Pentacles there, it takes you to the next step and the next stage. So, if you got into, let's just say, sales, I'm not saying that's where that's the card specifically, but, you could end up doing an industry event or something like that. Or if you're into writing, you could, be called upon to write something else for another company, or it might go to the next stage, of publishing, or to another, country or whatever. Either way, you're getting a chance to kind of move it up in scale. Seven of Wands is a defensive position, but you're defending your position as well from others or from yourself. So you're holding your ground, you're holding your vision. I feel you've got a lot of good energy here as far as standing alone, even if it's just for this moment, but you're really getting to know what the price of being on purpose is, and the intention. It's a soul journey. Like, it's not something that everybody's going to join you and support you and whatever. People are, when you're trying to do something really hard, all of a sudden you got nobody around. Nobody's there. That's usually how it works. But it's up to you to believe in yourself, to kind of look at the long game, and that's where you're planting the seeds, and that's what the Page of Coins is. This is where you're growing into something major. So I feel like in, again, August, September month here, you're a student of your own ambition. This is where you're starting to, you're practicing a growth mindset. You're trying to learn as many skills as you can. You're saying, I will take that small step, I will do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's where, again, you build a larger platform. You build, people are watching. Never think that they're not watching, because the Page of Swords tells me they're watching you, even if they're on the sidelines and they're not in contact. They're watching you to see just exactly how much growth you make. They're watching, see if, and again, a lot of times people aren't going to be supportive. Even if you do something amazing, they're not necessarily going to say great for you, because jealousy and those things come into play. But when you're aligned with something you enjoy to do, you're just going to keep doing it. And if they, come on board and eventually support, then you just keep going. You just keep going. You show your skills, and they start to trust you, and then they start to see that this is you're aligned with who you are, and that you have something real to offer. So again, freedom is on the other side of fear, as they say. Balance your emotion with logic, lead with empathy, but with structure, and recognition is earned. It is not luck. There might be an element of luck in there as well, but it's recognition is earned. Own your wins and be visible. You're learning, you're not failing. So remember that you're learning, you're not failing, and just be patient with the process, because there's a lot here about you building your future and your vision in this month. But you're doing it very carefully. And even though you're ready to take the leap and trust yourself, it's also where you can start looking at a weekly plan of habits. What is it that you bring to a relationship that you would want to see your best self as, and then build from that. Like if you don't really know who you are and what you want, you can at least say, well, if I had to look after a family, or if I had to build a family, or if I wanted to show up as my best self, how would I want to be seen? And then start building the world. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to have a plan and a plan of action. Now on to the last ones, and then we are on to the cards. Okay, these are only a few cards, guys. Queen of Coins, Page of Cups, Magician, Strength, Six of Swords, Page of Swords. Again, Page of Swords out there again. So definitely they are watching you. So again, there's something here that there is still a subtle caution, but in their strength cards, there's definitely deep connections available this month. Trust must be earned, not assumed. And I definitely feel like you're staying wise to any red flags in this month. There is, again, nurturing energy here with the Queen of Coins. This is loyal friendships, that kind of thing. And I feel like they're seeing you as reliable and supportive. You're a reliable, supportive friend. You're stable, you're comforting. And I do feel like you are, generous emotionally. And so I feel like, when people look at you, they're seeing you as a shoulder to cry on, or the person that, can help someone through a hard time. And you give good, rock solid advice, things like that. And then we got the Page of Cups. So again, this is new or a repaired emotional bond of some sort. And again, this could be around a friendship, or, any kind of, other now. And this is more along friendship, or any kind of friendship or connection that has significant impact on your life. So I feel like this is kind of a lighter energy. So someone may apologize, or somebody's reaching out. There's more vulnerability in this connection, more emotional openness, and a reconnection either way. So I feel like if this is an old friend, somebody distant might reach out, a newer connection might grow closer, or something like that. But someone is expressing feelings, and that they've been hiding it, not necessarily romantic, but they're reaching out. And then, of course, the Magician. This is about meaningful connection. So for sure, this is powerful, and this is where you can create the friendships that you want. So if you wanted to get into a running club, or you wanted to get involved with something with writing, or if you wanted to get involved with a group that is um, rowing. I'm just trying to think of ideas here, guys, but however it resonates for you, these are all things these are the friendships. If this is the friendships that you want, you're going to align yourself and do the things that they would do, in a sense. So I feel like you're trying to get friendships around you aligned. You want them to reciprocate energy. You don't want a space where you're showing up and nobody gives in anything to you. So you want to manifest authentic relationships, not convenient ones. And I feel like that's what's important to you this month, is kind of making new friendships and all of that here. So there is emotional patience still required in your friendships, but it's, again, and there's still some boundaries that are here. There's emotional resilience, but I still feel like you sense a little bit of overwhelm when it comes to friendships. You want to support them, but you want to protect your energy. The Seven of Swords did tell me as well, there is reason just to, there's some warning flags here with some of those friends or some of those people, but they may be hiding something. Maybe it's, gossip behind your back. But again, it doesn't really matter what anybody says, because I mean, real friends eventually will come around. So even if they're talking about you behind your back now, that may change down the road in a year or two. So it doesn't really mean anything. It's just words. And, unless they're running your life and, telling you what to do, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock and so on, it doesn't really matter. It's just gossip, and you just keep on, if you get something out of it, keep going, but at the same token, at some point, you're going to make new friendships that are more aligned with you and your true intentions. And then you kind of get rid of the old. But there's something here about, don't confront things impulsively, protect your inner circle. That's really what's important there. And again, with the Six of Swords, this is that emotional distance or transition. You've had that card more than once here, so you're moving away from potentially some kind of friendship, emotionally or physically. But I feel like this can be an internal situation as well, where you're realizing that a friendship is no longer aligned. Even if there's no drama, you're just kind of making a decision here that you want to hang out with someone new. You want to stop feeling like they're draining. You just want to stop feeling like, so you're kind of quietly detaching is what I would say there. Now, almost done, guys. Last card, Page of Swords. This is the card. My watch is telling me I'm lazy. I should have been walking. Anyway, the rain is still out there. But Page of Swords is a curious observational card. It's where people are still watching you. And so, again, this is social media energy as well, watching but not speaking. So somebody's kind of checking in on you, I would say, and they're keeping tabs on you, and they may not be kind of directly telling you, but I feel like they want to reconnect. You just don't know it yet. It is a younger energy for sure, and I do feel like they want to talk, but there's not a lot of action here. So again, just to kind of summarize, I feel like you're the loyal, nurturing person that people lean on. I do feel like you've got some kind of emotional reconnection or an apology or something that's coming through this month. I do feel like you can shape your social life this month, and develop new friendships. I feel like that's a potential here in this month. There's also emotional balance here, but you're protecting your peace. You're just being very cautious, and you're not maybe being fully transparent because you want to know if these people or this person anybody's going to align with, the things that you believe in and your values, and are they going to, tear apart your world, or are they going to add to it? So there's something here about letting go of friendships that no longer align with your goals or how you want to see yourself. So you're also being quietly observed. It's an indirect energy around you or around your circle. So again, just as far as a takeaway on advice, trust your instincts. Take a step back from things. Look for more emotional reciprocity. Give to those who give back. And there's something here about friendships, where you can observe, but don't be emotionally biased. Not everyone deserves your full access to your energy. It's okay to have those, only show your time and attention to people that value you. And yeah, overall, I think you got some really pretty good energy here, but it feels like you're really coming into your own is what I would say here this month. Lots of really good cards, even though I do feel like big decisions around a relationship romantically there for those that are involved. So anyway, let's get to that final message for Ashita. Okay, because I did do a really long read on this one. Okay. All right, Ashita. So, sorry, I was just trying to see what you had there. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's just see what's coming in for Ashita. Okay, what's coming in for Ashita? What's coming in for Ashita in the month of August? What's coming in for Ashita in the month of August? What's coming in for Ashita? What's coming in for Ashita in the month of August? Okay, I don't know if this is a romantic energy or because I'm kind of getting two things for sure. There's a financial aspect to something, but I feel like there's been disappointment. So I'm going to kind of read it on that basis because it's kind of mixed energy. Like I said, we have the Four of Cups, Queen of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, Fool, bottom of the deck, Knight of Cups. Below that, Seven of Cups. All right. So in short, we know the Four of Cups is a card of, things maybe not going quite as we expect around something. So I feel like because of that, there's been emotional disappointment. But I also want to say you've got a lot of cards here that indicate that you've got a really grounded, strong start with something. So I feel like the emotional part of it is somehow invested on some surface level, or at least it's impacting it. So emotionally, I feel like you're feeling uninspired or flat about something. You're not really looking at your options. I do feel like you do have options, but you might have been bored with them, or at least there's some kind of there's been emotional disappointment around it. I do feel like you're being offered something real though, and it's just almost, are you open to receiving it? So whether this is love or a financial situation, there's somebody who's very, this could be you, but very practical, very nurturing, all about the money. You don't want to chase things, you want to attract your value, stay rooted, because that's what this card is. The Queen is all about, I'm not going to. I'm not going to accept anything less than what I feel, works for me. So, and I don't mean that but it's just a very practical energy. So it's not something that you would, because you're really about your home. You're really about, your finances, your practical, you've got a Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo sort of energy also comes through with this, but it's like you build on your achievements. You're not reckless, you're not unstable. So there's something there, even in terms of a romance, it would be, I'm not in a big hurry to get involved right now. I'd rather finish all the things that I need to do and keep things stable. It's, I want my situation financially to be good. I like things to, I enjoy the challenge of things, but I also like to build on things. If I do spend money, it has to be something that is, practical, that I needed to buy. It's that kind of energy here. And I feel like you might have been disappointed with that. Maybe there's been some kind of a letdown with that Four of Cups energy. So, I mean, a relationship is grounded in, care and effort. And I feel like even in terms of a job offer, that leads to stability and growth here is what I see. Because Ace of Pentacles with the Fool, strong energy of a new job or a new direction and something in terms of finances that's going to build and grow. So I feel like there's a new emotional chapter for you, Ashita, and it does feel like you're being asked to take a chance. It's not reckless energy, though. It's very grounded energy so it's hopeful and it's stable. But don't let the past confusion or disappointment stop you from embracing, this new start here. But I definitely feel like someone is going to be coming forward with romantic or emotional energy, or there's news coming in about a job offer. But either way, whichever way it swings or both, it feels like you are unsure, and it's like you do have some options, but I feel like your challenge is choose what grounds you. Because I feel like if you're not sure, then it must not be right, is kind of the trap in your head. But, uncertainty doesn't always mean it's danger. Sometimes we have that feeling when growth is coming in. So, and a lot of times we want to just continue on with the same behaviors where it's comfortable. But I feel like you're in a space of something new. And again, it's new job, new offer. And again, it can be a new love interest or offer of coming back in here. But either way, it feels like there is kind of a healing from the past energy here as well. So someone is coming in, offering you something real, something grounded, and it's really good energy. But again, trust actions over words. That's what I would say. Kind of a safe, consistent energy is where I think you're at, and I feel like that's what this is all about. Sorry, Ashita, I was trying to see your thing, but my phone doesn't let me see it because it's filled with sun. Yeah, this part was yours, Ashita. Yeah, this last little section was yours. But I mean, I didn't see a specific question on there, so that's why I kind of answered it in both career as well as for um, the love interest. Like I said, either way, you have either a new job or there's a new person, not new person, but a gesture. Someone's coming in here anyway. There's going to be a love interest that comes in here for you. You have either option. So I'm trying to read your thing here with the sun on my thing. What's going to happen with your connection with Yashank and in career? Will you be able to get the job? Okay, well, either way, I see both. Like I said, I just read yours, and you have both. You have new job, and you have the love offer coming through. Somebody's coming forward towards you in an emotional way. And not only that, you also have sort of a grounded energy. So, and there's something here even around healing as well. So I don't know if there's something that happened between you guys, but let me just ask separate on that one too. Okay, is there going to be, will Ashita get the job? Will Ashita get the job? Will Ashita get a job in the month of August? I see yes. Feels like it's something, a lot of mature energy on that one actually too. So you might be, and it's good, slow, practical money, very good money, I would say. A lot more give and take. And what about on the front of, feels like it can make you a lot of money. It's a very stable job. And what's happening with Ashita? Yeah, because you did see the star card, so that makes sense to me. So there is a healing that's going on there. But I do feel like he's coming back. What is happening with Yashank? Is he coming back? Is he coming back? Is Yashank coming back? Yeah, I do feel like, I mean, the King of Swords and the Empress. So it's almost like somebody is, it does show the distance for sure. Nine of Wands, it's kind of persevering energy. There is sort of an unknown element here, though. And it does show, like I said, what are the feelings of this person? What are the feelings of Yashank to Ashita? What are the feelings? I think you guys were building something. I did see the Three of Pentacles sort of pop out there. You were building, like you work well together financially, but there's been a lot of jealousy. But I feel like you guys work well together on a financial front. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I see there. It's like something about the finances lines up. There is going to be a big shift or a big change soon. What is going to happen with Yashank? What are his feelings? It's like he might want to take this to the next level. That's kind of what I feel. Because he's showing up with communication. He's pushing, he's persevering. He's very, somebody's and again, you got the Three of Pentacles again. So I feel like very held back kind of energy. I suspect that would be him, and you're the Empress coming through here, very warm and loving. But he shows up to me, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. He comes through as the King of Swords. So to me, that, and especially with the High Priestess, it's, you know, stronger, more powerful kind of energy. But I do feel like this is, you know, somebody really thinks clearly, for the most part, like meaning they don't really react emotionally. I feel like they actually have more of a direct way of speaking to you. Could be dealing with a legal system or lawyer or something in that kind of field as well. But either way, I just feel like they really weigh things out carefully, and they have very high standards. But either way, very direct communication, and I feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like they hold back and want to sort of show you how they feel necessarily. But I do feel like there is a loving connection there, and there are a lot of things in terms of the finances that do line up. So that's what I'm going to leave it at, because now I've got some things to do. But so glad you guys dropped in, and I really appreciate the support. So until next time, I will do another read for some of the other signs, but got to do it on a day when I have a little more time. So anyway, until the next read, keep moving forward, guys. Never give up, and always, always remember who you are.